So, live once again. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Friday Night Tech Talk.
So, live once again.
It's my phone doing what it always does. Welcome if you haven't been here before. My name is George Hayes. I am Mobile Geezer. And every week, every Friday night, at least Friday night here in the U.S. on the East Coast, I do this going through some of the tech stories from the past week. And if you haven't joined before, please put in a comment and let me know where you're from and say hello. And once again, Eleanor was the first one in. I don't know who else is here. I did, for those of you who are regulars, I did put this statement in just to let you all know so that no one will worry. Renz won't be joining tonight since it's a holiday weekend in the Philippines, and I guess it's party time. And yes, I missed the period. Now, Eleanor's telling me, well, thanks for telling me that, Eleanor. I think the old guy finally forgot it that quick. Wiseacre. You see, you can take the girl out of Jersey, but you can't take the Jersey out of the girl. You know. Okay, so let me go down to share screen. As always, the show notes are on my website. Yes, she said, well, you want to know where we're from. That's true. So you can find the show notes here on my website, mobilegeezer.wordpress.com. If you click on the first story with today's date, you'll see all the stories from tonight. So I'm going to start with the big story of the week, at least as far as stories came out. Everybody had this story a couple of days ago, so I figured you probably heard it, you probably know it, but I might as well start with it. So this is on Bloomberg. It's on everybody's site, trust me. And this was from Monday, I think it was, or Tuesday, I think. Anyway, Elon Musk takes 9.2% stake in Twitter after hinting at a shakeup. Tesla CEO has regularly questioned Silicon Valley giants. Twitter shares post biggest intraday surge since IPO in 2013. So the fact that he is now the biggest stakeholder in Twitter also made the stock shoot up bigger than the day that it bigger than any day since the day it did its initial public offering. So let me go in here, change this to read view, get rid of some of these ads. Okay. This was written by Giles Turner and Craig Trudell. Elon Musk took a 9.2% stake in Twitter Incorporated to become the platform's biggest shareholder a week after hinting he might shake up the social media industry. Yeah, and I did share the story last week where he seemed to be considering starting his own media company. Well, I guess he decided he could take over one just as well. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if it's in the story, but he is now on the board of Twitter. Twitter shares surged as much as 27% after Musk's purchase was revealed Monday in a regulatory filing. The gain marked the stock's biggest intraday increase since its first day of trading following the company's 2013 initial public offering. The stake is worth about $2.89 billion based on Friday's market close. Musk, 50, polled his more than 80 million followers on Twitter last month, asking them whether the company adheres to the principles of free speech. After more than 70% said no, he asked whether a new platform was needed and said he was giving serious thought to starting his own. Given Elon's prior comments about wanting to start a social media company, I would say it's possible that he will increase his stake in Twitter or take controlling interest in the company sometime soon, said Tom Forte, an analyst at D.A. Davidson and Company. Musk has been one of the biggest personalities on Twitter and has regularly run into trouble on the platform. That's true. The Tesla Incorporated chief executive is currently seeking to exit a 2018 deal with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission that put controls in place related to his tweeting about Tesla. The announcement will be yet another major test for new Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal, who replaced Jack Dorsey after he unexpectedly resigned in November. Agrawal vowed to increase accountability, make decisions faster, and to improve product execution. The company set ambitious goals for growth, including increasing annual revenue to $7.5 billion and getting to 315 million daily users by the end of next year. Musk posted a this I didn't know about. Musk posted a cryptic meme in December after Twitter announced that Agrawal was taking over from Dorsey as Twitter CEO. It depicted Agrawal as Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin and Dorsey as Soviet secret police head Nikolai Yezhov being shoved into water. And you can see the rise it took after he revealed that he was buying in. That was the almost 30% jump after everybody found out that Musk was the biggest stakeholder. It looks like Elon has his eyes laser set on Twitter, said Weed Bush analyst Dan Ives in a research note, adding that the state could lead to a more aggressive ownership role. Twitter is particularly vulnerable to outside pressure because unlike Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Snap, the company's founders don't have special voting control over its future. The company has just recovered, I didn't know about this either, from an activist pressure by Elliott Management that started in 2020, which led Dorsey, who was serving his second stint as CEO of Twitter, to set a succession plan. It's unclear what Musk is planning with his stake. The filing with the SEC shows that the date of the event that triggered the disclosure was March 14th. The type of form used often indicates the investor isn't seeking to acquire control of a company or to influence who controls it. I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. Musk, already the world's richest person, according to Bloomberg Billionaires Index, has made about $1.1 billion on his holdings since mid-March, based on the pop in Twitter shares in early trading Monday. So that almost 30% jump made him make over $1 billion right there. Twitter is under pressure to move faster in building new products. The company has set ambitious revenue and user growth goals to convince skeptical investors that it was serious about expanding its business. While Twitter has grown steadily for years, its stock gains have lagged behind industry peers. Musk has lambasted Twitter's recent development of profile pictures linked to non-fungible tokens, saying the social media company has the wrong priorities. Well, I guess he'll have a say about that from now on. So I know you've heard the story, but I figured I should start with that story. So let's come out of there. And here's the follow-up. And I guess everybody may have heard about this one already, too. This one is on TechCrunch, and it's by Taylor Hatmaker. Twitter is working on an edit button for real, which a lot of us has been asking for a long time. Apparently, it wasn't just an April Fool's joke or an errant Elon Musk tweet. As any blue Twitter user knows, the divide over the social network adding an edit button is the deepest ideological ravine of our time, and Twitter is poised to switch sides. The company confirmed Tuesday that it is indeed working on a way to edit tweets. About time. Twitter started tinkering around with tweet editing option last year, and it will test it out on Twitter Blue Labs, a corner of the platform's premium subscription product where it tries out new features. Twitter Blue subscribers can expect to see an edit tweet button in the coming months, according to the company. Those are the people who pay for their Twitter. On Monday, the news broke that Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk was buying a sizable blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we've already read all that. In characteristic Musk fashion, the iconoclastic mega billionaire spilled the beans about an edit button in a tweet a day before the company opted to make the announcement through official channels. Twitter has shown a somewhat novel willingness to shape the platform based on user feedback. So it will be interesting to see what happens as the test begins. It's easy to find strong opinions in favor of or vehemently against editing tweets. I didn't know people were against it, but much harder to know at scale what most people really want. Some Twitter power users have clamored for an edit button for years, while others have serious misgivings about making misinformation and harassment even harder to manage on a social network still rife with serious problems. In the past, the company has downplayed its interest in giving users the ability to edit tweets, saying that the feature barely ranked on its list of priorities. I guess it does now. But 2022 Twitter is a very different beast, one that bears little resemblance to the stagnant social platform of yore, and one that's no longer led by CEO Jack Dorsey, who faced investor pressure toward the end of his tenure to pick up the company's pace. Though Dorsey's out, pick up the pace it did. Twitter has accelerated into all kinds of new products over the last 2 years, rapidly developing and sometimes discarding new features as quickly as they came. Fleets, Twitter's experimental disappearing tweet product, lasted for less than a year. I remember that, after officially debuting in November 2020. The company first launched its Perk Pack Premium, say that 5 times fast. The company first launched its Perk Pack Premium monthly subscription service, Twitter Blue, a little less than a year ago, and has generally been willing to see what sticks in recent months. That includes everything from TikTok-like reaction videos and photographer-friendly images to rolling policy changes that reframe the platform's rules as a living document that responds to global events. So I guess they're listening. They're certainly going to be listening to Elon, that's for sure. Okay, let's stop that screen. Okay, nothing new in the comments. I see a couple of people watching. Say hello if you're up to it, folks. I was trying to wait a little while before I threw up the next story, but this story is from last week. I found out about it minutes before I went on air last week. And since it wasn't in our stories for last week, I just thought I'd better show it just in case somebody hasn't seen it yet. So I said, just in case you haven't updated your iPhone, do it now. And this was on Forbes last Friday. And it's not very specific, but it really said everybody should update their iPhone right away. So iOS 15.4.1 update now warning issued to all iPhone users. And yeah, I hadn't even seen it on Friday while I was still at work, but Miss E texted me and let me know about it. So I got mine done on Friday night while Mark and I were broadcasting. So this one I think you have to take seriously. So let's go into reader view. And this was by Cato Flaherty. Apple had issued iOS 15.4.1 along with a warning to update now. That's because iOS 15.4.1 comes with a single security fix for a major issue that is already being used by adversaries to attack phones. Oh, yes, and if you have an Android phone, hang on for the next story because I just found another one. Apple doesn't give a lot of detail about what's fixed in iOS 15.4.1 to allow as many iPhones as possible to be updated before more attackers can get hold of the details. According to Apple's support page, iOS 15.4.1 patches a vulnerability in Apple AVD, which could allow an application to execute arbitrary code with kernel privileges, so they could basically take over your whole phone. Apple says is aware of a report that the issue may have been actively exploited. In other words, adversaries are using the vulnerability to attack iPhones in real life scenarios. That's why I want everybody to see this one. The impact of the vulnerability fixed in iOS 15.4.1 is as severe as they come, says security researcher Sean Wright. Anything that has the ability to execute commands with kernel privileges allows an attacker to have full control over the device. Labeled CVE 2022-22675, the issue fixed in the iOS 15.4.1 emergency update was reported by an anonymous researcher. It comes just 2 weeks after the release of iOS 15.4, which came with a number of security fixes, as well as some major new security and privacy features. One of the most popular iOS 15.4 features was the ability to unlock your phone while wearing a mask. Yep, a lot of people wanted that one. Apple's iOS 15.4.1 also comes with a fix for a battery drain issue many people had complained about since updating to iOS 15.4. It's not security related, but running out of battery in an emergency is an emergency too for the many iPhone users affected by this problem. So just wanted to make sure everybody knew, in case you haven't updated it, get it done right away, because your phone is vulnerable and who knows when they're going to hit who. So let's stop that screen. And let's see. I have a few people watching. Now, I didn't have this in the show notes, but just before, maybe 2 minutes before I went live, I happened to see this story. Let's see. I'm going to share the screen, and this affects Android users. I haven't even read the whole story, but I figured, okay, everybody can at least remove these apps. And this was on phonearena.com. Millions of Android users should delete these 11 apps after Google kicked them out of the Play Store. And that's by Adrian Diaconescu. Not bad, George. Okay, so I'm not going to read the whole story, but I'm going to show you the 11 apps that if you have any of them on your phone, you probably want to get rid of them right away, since Google kicked them out of the Play Store. So, Speed Camera Radar, Almoazin Light, I guess that's by Prayer Times, Wi-Fi Mouse, QR and barcode scanner developed by AppSource Hub. So check your barcode, who made your barcode scanner. Kiblia Compass, simple weather and clock widget developed by Differ. Handset Next SMS text with MMS. Never heard of it. SmartKit 360, Alquran MP3, Full Quran MP3, and Andios Droid Auto Studio DAW. So if any of you guys have any of these 11 apps on your Android phone, I would get rid of them right away. I wonder if I can copy this and stick it in the notes. Let's see. See if I can paste this in here. Okay. Just in case you didn't catch all the name of all 11 of them, I just pasted them into the comments. So in case you want to check your phone for any of them, just thought it was important to show that, since I just happened to see it just before I went on air. So I'm going to stop screen. Get rid of that. And now we'll go on down to our next story. So since almost every week we have all these serious stories, I guess somewhat depressing stories, I thought I'd throw in a pleasant story just for a change. I got to give credit to Lou later because I initially saw this on a broadcast that he did the other day. But this, I think, is very cool. If I let me share screen. So, this is what I wrote. Hamburg, Germany, world's largest model railroad. And look at the picture. I mean, you can see people walking around here, and look at the size of this model railroad. I'm going to go into the story, but you won't believe the size of this thing. So I found it on Gizmodo, but I gather there's been a lot of stories. This thing has been around for a few years. They just added a 360 camera on the train that goes around the whole thing. And you can go out on YouTube and see it. All you have to do is type in miniature Wunderland, and there's a 360 camera going all around. Now, the cool thing about this thing, look at the size of this thing compared to the people. And it takes an hour for the train to go through the entire thing. And it shows different parts of the world, different cities. Vegas is in there, different pieces of America, different pieces of Germany. So it's very cool. So I just thought if anybody wanted to, now, of course, this is a park you can go to, and I'll show you the website if you're going to Hamburg, Germany. But let's go through the story. Let me get this in reader view if we can. Okay. If after 2 years of being stuck at home, you're still not comfortable with traveling yet, Germany's miniature Wunderland, Eleanor's going to kill me for messing up this German, will send you on an hour-long train ride around the world thanks to its new 360-degree camera that recently traversed the entire route of the world's largest model railroad. This thing looks so cool. We've uncovered model railroads small enough to be hidden away inside coffee tables and behind unassuming pieces of art hanging on a wall, and even impressively detailed setups that can be ridden from the comfort of a life-size mock-up of a train car. But nothing else on Earth comes close to the scale of miniature Wunderland. The populous tourist attraction located in Hamburg, Germany, is always expanding, and a decade ago added a $5 million airport expansion complete with planes that take off and land. Yes. While I was watching it on Lou's broadcast, this fire truck goes through like in a real city and actually puts out a fire. But trains are its focus, and as of last year, it featured almost 53,000 feet of track, over 10 miles, occupying over 600 square feet of space. That's a lot of track. Snaking across the model railroad are some 1,300 trains made up of over 10,000 cars, but it's what surrounds the train that's most impressive. 9 distinct sections featuring detailed replicas of real-world locations like the Alps, the United States, Hamburg, Italy, and South America, filled with over 100,000 vehicles, 500,000 working lights, and 400,000 tiny humans. I mean, it looks like looking at real cities. There are endless videos of miniature Wonderland online featuring every last region of the sprawling layout, but its creators have recently completed work on a new camera-equipped train that captures a 360-degree view from the train's perspective, providing a unique way to experience the model railroad as its HO-scale citizens do. If you've got an hour to spare on a Tuesday morning, and really who doesn't, The new camera car was recently sent on a voyage through all 9 regions of the layout, and the entire trip has been shared on YouTube as a 360-degree video that can be panned around in all directions, letting anyone explore the attraction without having to worry about masks, vaccine passports, or social distancing. And that's the cool thing. Let me take this out of reader view. This 360 camera that they put on this train that goes around the entire thing. You can point it in any direction you want. You can see it from any angle. It's just awesome to see. So anyway, I thought it was a fun thing to show people. Well, yeah, on the service saying leave the German to move. Well, that is your first language. So, so now I wanted to also show you the website, just in case anybody wants to go to it. And I guess from here, you can probably go find that 360 video. And believe me, the trip lasts an hour, but I would think if you've got the time, it's definitely worth it. So this is their website, Miniature Wunderland. Wunderland, owner? I'm thinking I must be getting closer. You can buy tickets, all kinds of stuff, but that's the entire website. They have I gather this thing has been around a number of years. That's some of the pictures. There's going to the mountains in the snow. There's the airport. I gather these planes actually take off. Okay. I don't know where this is. But it's just, this thing is just amazing to look at. And like I say, each one is like going through real cities and real mountains, just smaller. You know. So very, very cool thing. So if you have time, go out and look for the 360 video, and it's kind of fascinating to take a ride on this little thing. So I'm going to get out of that. And let's see, nothing new in the comments. Okay. So for once, I actually put up something cheerful and fun. So since nobody else has come in tonight, none of the other guys, it's going to be an early show. But I try to come up with stories that you don't see everywhere else. Now, here's another little Twitter story that I found on The Verge. And they said they're getting aggressive about new products. Well, here's an example of it. So this was on The Verge yesterday. So let's go into reader view. This is Twitter says it's experimenting with unmentioning. It's by Kim Lyons. Twitter is experimenting with an unmentioning feature that will allow users to remove themselves from conversations. That's a good thing. It's limited to some users and only on the web version for now, but looks like a very useful way to clean up your mentions. We're experimenting with unmentioning, a way to help you protect your peace and remove yourself from conversations. The company posted a short GIF of the feature, of what the feature will look like to its Twitter safety account. How do you say "don't at me" without saying "don't at me"? We're experimenting with unmentioning, a way to help. Well, I already read that. The leave this conversation option will appear on the menu that pops out of the corner of a tweet on the web version of Twitter. It includes the mute and embed options as well. Clicking the leave this conversation option brings up another menu that details what happens when you leave a conversation. Your username gets untagged. It stops any future mentions in that conversation, and perhaps most importantly, it will stop notifications. I think that's a very good idea. Twitter researcher and reverse engineer Jane Machin Wong tweeted an apparent screenshot of the leave this conversation feature in February. I'll show you that in a minute. As is often occurs, her sleuthing proved correct. The choice to escape a tweet conversation that may have become hostile, simply uninteresting, or that you didn't want to be a part of in the first place, yeah, that does happen, is a welcome addition to Twitter, especially for those who experience harassment on the platform. It lets you make a graceful exit without a lot of fanfare. So let me take off read view, and I think you can see that tweet. Let's see. Well, at least I thought I saw. Here it is. See, how do you say don't at me? So that was the original tweet. And I think this will show you what it does, I think. Yep. Shows you how to do it. You leave this conversation. Let's get you out of this conversation. You click leave the conversation, and you're now out of the conversation. So I just thought that was very, don't know when we'll get it as the general public, but I think they're kind of going in the right direction on that one. So just wanted you to see that one. So let's go on to our next story. Okay. Yeah, Eleanor told me leave the Germans there. That's true. That's very true. Okay. And for those of you, since people watch from all different parts of the world, there's a WhatsApp story that I thought I'd put in just in case people hadn't heard about this new feature. So this was on CNET. Apple's iMessage should copy this new WhatsApp feature. Commentary: WhatsApp now works with encryption across any device with a web browser. Hopefully, more messaging apps do this too. Sounds like a good idea to me. All right, read review, get rid of some of the ads. And it's by James Martin. WhatsApp's newest feature makes it easy to access your text from the web and desktop apps, even when your phone isn't working. The result still preserves much of the encryption and security that the app is known for, but also provides faster access to chats from nearly any computer or tablet you choose to access these from. This linked devices feature, previously in beta and rolling out to the public over the next several months, creates a cross-platform testing experience that reminds me of using iMessage across Mac and an iPhone, but without the requirement of being stuck on just Apple's devices. WhatsApp's desktop apps are not new, to be clear. However, they previously required a constant connection with your phone in order to function. If your phone powered off or was temporarily lost, you essentially couldn't access your text at all. This is from your computer or desktop. Other Meta-owned services like Messenger don't have this limitation, but at the cost to your privacy of not having end-to-end encryption on by default. WhatsApp now lets you pick as many as 4 devices aside from your phone that can send and receive WhatsApp messages. You set up these devices by scanning a QR code generated on WhatsApp's website or desktop app with the WhatsApp app from your phone, and after they're listed as linked devices within your account. From that point on, this is the best part, that browser or desktop will be able to access your WhatsApp text regardless of whether your phone is around. In addition to that flexibility, I also found WhatsApp would simply boot up much faster across the devices I tested, which include my work Mac, a Chromebook, and an iPad. I wouldn't call WhatsApp's multi-device system perfect yet, and other messaging apps like Signal and Telegram do offer similar solutions. So let's go over a few more of the ins and outs for WhatsApp's particular multi-device setup. Works on nearly any device, but not nearly every feature. The best part of the new WhatsApp multi-device launch is speed. As I outlined earlier, I can flip back and forth between different devices across several operating systems and keep up with group chats or quick tests seamlessly. However, some features like video and voice calling only work on WhatsApp's Windows, macOS, and mobile apps. The web version that I use on my Chromebook and iPad don't have access to those calling features. So basically, it's just for text. Oh, Vince, thank you very much. Yo, Brian's in here too. Let's see. Thank you very much, Vince. Very kind of you. And Brian, good to have you, brother. If you look at this, I did a quick story that I saw 2 minutes maybe before I started broadcasting, and it said these 12 apps have been kicked out of the Play Store, so you should probably remove them from the phone. So I copy and pasted those 11 apps, I'm sorry, just so anybody could go look at their phone to see if they have them. But you probably get them off your Android phone if you have them. All right, back to the story. WhatsApp also spells out other omissions that linked devices don't yet support, which include clearing or deleting chats from a linked device if you use WhatsApp on an iPhone and viewing live location. And even though a linked device won't need a connection to your phone, the new WhatsApp feature still requires a phone in order to get started. In other words, so you only have to do the barcode scanning once and then you don't need your phone anymore. During setup, your phone will send your device a copy of your most recent message history. Linked devices also rely on your phone using WhatsApp in order to stay logged in. If you don't log into WhatsApp for 14 days from your phone, whether because you lost the phone or perhaps you only lose WhatsApp very occasionally for specific context, all linked devices will be logged out. So as long as you do it within every 2-week period, I guess they'll stay connected. I also found that one could inadvertently fill up their linked device limit quickly. Should you use the WhatsApp desktop app and WhatsApp for web on the same computer, WhatsApp will see that as 2 devices, so there's 2 of your 4. If you clear your cache on your web browser and then log in again to WhatsApp on that web browser, it will also come up as a new linked device. So that would be 3. You only get 4. It's easy enough to remove linked devices from your settings, but it's worthwhile that some device management could come up faster than you'd expect. Also for now, smartwatches aren't able to be a linked device, nor is WhatsApp offering an Apple Watch app. Well, Apple Watch is a smartwatch. I do find it easy enough to use WhatsApp from an Apple Watch by replying to notifications, but you can't start new messages with this method. I'm aware of third-party Apple Watch apps in the App Store that unofficially integrate with WhatsApp, but I would be wary about providing any additional party access to that. I agree. I wouldn't use those at all. As I mentioned before, WhatsApp's version of multi-device isn't particularly new, but there is a lot of room for other testing apps to improve their services in this cross-platform direction. Signal, whose encryption protocol WhatsApp uses, offers multi-device texting through apps on mobile, desktop, and iPad, but doesn't currently support a web version for platforms where it doesn't make an app. Signal also doesn't offer cloud backups of your text, keeping your messages located on the devices themselves. Signal does offer instructions for how to back up and restore messages with a process that involves directly transferring your text from phone to phone. That sounds cumbersome. Android's Messages app offers encryption for text sent over RCS, that's right. And it does have a web version, but that web version relies on syncing directly with the phone, similar to how the previous version of WhatsApp works. That's right, with that you have to have the phone connected. Apple's iMessage works seamlessly across MacBooks, iPad tablets, the Apple Watch, and the iPhone, including encrypted text and partial encryption for backups. The flexibility of moving between these devices has always been a high point of its iMessage service. Still, it's increasingly common for someone to use an iPhone, but perhaps own a Windows PC that can't access iMessage or a Chromebook. So I guess with WhatsApp you can now. or an Android tablet. I won't go into an iMessage walled garden rant here, but when other rivals are offering services that meet customers across platforms while maintaining encryption, it becomes increasingly notable when one does not. Encryption in text messaging apps is particularly pertinent following the European Union recent approving but not yet adopting the Digital Markets Act, which is partly intended to require leaders in the messaging space like Apple and Meta to allow interoperability. The rules are very new and are aimed at providing a more level playing field for newer services. While well-intentioned, it also creates a situation where tech companies may need to solve how to allow for that interoperability while also preserving its customers' privacy. Yeah, they're going to make it so everybody will have to have access to that messaging for everyone. So anyway, I just thought WhatsApp going in the right direction with this. And you can scan your phone once to your computer, and then you can just do your texting from your computer or from your tablet. So I thought that was pretty cool. So stop screen. Okay. It's definitely going to be an early night since none of the other guys are coming in. And although Mark is kind enough to jump in every once in a while, like he did the last 2 weeks, he's in California. So when I start, it's only 5 p.m. for him. Oh, Brian, you're kind as always, sir. Appreciate it very, very much, especially since lately I've been buying devices. Okay. This is an interesting story, and it'll probably end up being kind of a big deal story. So let me share the screen. We'll see where this story goes. So, Amazon warehouse workers in New York made history voting for a union. Here's what could happen next. So now they have a union, at least that one location in Staten Island. And this was by Sarah Ashley O'Brien on CNN. So let's go to Readerview. Okay. And this is from a few days ago. Christian Smalls was fired 2 years ago from an Amazon warehouse in New York City following his participation in a walkout over its pandemic response. An executive at the company, check this out, suggested undercutting his organizing efforts by painting him as not smart or articulate. Well, I guess we know who won that battle. When Smalls' newly established organization garnered enough interest to hold a union election at that facility this year, that's on Staten Island, a spokesperson for the tech giant initially cast doubt on the legitimacy of the signatures, indicating support. And when the election went forward, Amazon engaged in a full-blown campaign to combat the union drive, including text messages, signage, and required group meetings to convey its anti-union messages to workers. That I don't think they should be allowed. I mean, you show up for work, and Amazon requires you to come to these meetings just so they can tell you not to join the union. And that doesn't sound right to me. And I'm not much of a union guy, but that's just gone too far. But on Friday, the results of that election showed that employees at the Staten Island, New York facility voted overwhelmingly. And next story, we'll see about that. I don't call that overwhelmingly. In favor of unionizing with Amazon Labor Union, ALU, the grassroots labor organization started by Smalls and other current and former Amazon employees of the facility. The move marks the first time a group of U.S. workers have successfully voted to form a union in Amazon's 27-year history. So I guess that's the place on Staten Island. The win is striking for a number of reasons, including that ALU is a scrappy effort unaligned with an established labor union. Yeah, but the two biggies are after them. It scored a decisive victory while a drive done in tandem with an 85-year-old labor union in Alabama has stumbled. Yeah, there was another vote in Alabama, and that is having more problems. The results of an election at Bessemer, that's in Alabama, 1 year ago favored Amazon, but was scrapped after a National Labor Relations Board regional director determined Amazon had illegally interfered, a decision the company called disappointing. A do-over election currently remains too close to call. And the National Labor Relations Board, that's who Amazon has to appeal to. So, more about that as we go along. Now, the milestone vote and the bootstrapped approach to achieve it may well have ripple effects throughout Amazon. I wouldn't be a bit surprised, where other union efforts are already underway. It has the potential to motivate workers at other warehouses to unionize, labor experts say, and perhaps to rethink more conventional tactics for doing so. It could also supercharge the broader labor movement in the United States. Amazon, the country's second largest private employer, became even more dominant during the pandemic, hiring hundreds of thousands of workers to keep up with surging demand for online deliveries. The company is also widely viewed as setting the standards for what the future of work looks like across the United States. I wouldn't be surprised. With its emphasis on ultra-efficient warehouses, automation, and careful tracking of worker productivity. Yeah, I think they overdo that a bit. Okay, and that's the guy who got fired 2 years ago. I guess he's head of the union now. Amazon workers around the country will now have a belief that it's possible to organize and win an election, but it will still be difficult, said Rebecca Given, a labor law professor at Rutgers University. The odds are always stacked against workers organizing in a situation like this. But this is proof that it can be done, and it will likely inspire workers elsewhere. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. But as the dust settles on the vote, questions remain about how much Amazon may push back at the new union and any other efforts that attempt to follow in its footsteps. Yeah, it's just probably going to cause a tidal wave across the country with Amazon. Amazon has previously said in statements that its employees have always had the choice of whether or not to join a union, while spending $4.3 million just last year on an anti-union consultants. In a statement Friday, the company indicated it will explore its options to challenge the results rather than accepting that workers had voted in favor of the effort. Both parties have until this Friday to file any objections. Amazon said it was exploring filing options over what it claims was inappropriate and undue influence on the part of the National Labor Relations Board, the independent federal agency tasked with protecting employees' right to organize. So you know what side they're going to be on. Carla Blotto, acting director and press secretary for the NLRB, issued a sharp statement to CNN Business in response to Amazon on Friday. The NLRB is an independent federal agency that Congress has charged with enforcing the National Labor Relations Act. All NLRB enforcement actions against Amazon have been consistent with that congressional mandate. So Amazon's accusing them of interfering with the election, which I wouldn't think they would have, but who knows? He even said Amazon's statement suggests it may not have a clear path to challenging the results through what might be considered a more typical means. There don't seem to be challenges based on conduct of the organizers in the campaign, or they would have come to light by now, and certainly not on the eligibility of voters, or there would have been more challenged ballots. Similarly, Kate Andreas, a labor law professor at Columbia Law School, called it a very unusual argument, noting that it appears the company is hoping to put political pressure on the NLRB in order to have it stand down. I don't think that's going to happen. What's clear, according to labor experts, is that Amazon isn't likely to embrace the ALU, which has another election slated to kick off at a sorting facility in Staten Island later this month. So another one right on Staten Island. And that could prove challenging when the ALU enters a next phase of negotiating a contract. Givian said that some employers at times attempt to undermine union efforts by making it difficult to achieve a contract with a process called surface bargaining. They'll try to do the minimum or won't be serious at the bargaining table. They have a legal obligation to supposedly bargain in good faith, but there's not many teeth behind enforcement of that obligation, Givian said. While Amazon is legally obligated to begin bargaining in a timely manner, some labor experts noted Amazon may attempt to delay as much as possible and push off negotiations until any possible legal complaints are resolved. That's going to be a long time. According to John Logan, a professor of labor and employment studies at San Francisco State University, some corporations are of the mindset that you haven't lost until you sign a contract. It could be true. Given its significance, Amazon is likely to face a great deal of scrutiny, in how it navigates the coming weeks and months in response to the results of the election. You think? Within hours of the union victory, the outcome was praised by the White House, advocacy groups, and large labor unions, some of which hinted at plans to build on the new momentum to unionize Amazon. Teamsters, that makes sense. The Teamsters are excited to continue this fight against Amazon on the shop floor, at the bargaining table, and on the streets, said Sean O'Brien, the newly installed general president of the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, in a statement Friday. The Teamsters, which represents some 1.3 million members, including UPS workers, voted last year in favor of making Amazon a key priority in helping its workers achieve a union contract. Well, they did that. Liz Schuler, president of President of American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, in other words, the AFL-CIO, who previously said the organization would help the Teamsters take on Amazon, also praised the Staten Island result. In the face of one of the richest, most anti-union corporations, today's victory proves when working people unite in the fight for justice, anything is possible. So I won't go through all the other paragraphs, but you get the idea. So I think Amazon's up against it because I think this is just going to keep spreading. But we'll see. Let me stop screening, and I've got one more. Let's go back. Follow-up. Amazon said they were going to fight it. Well, here they go. This was on The Verge by Mitchell Clark, and this is from just yesterday. Amazon plans to object to union victory in New York. Oh, Ted's in here. Glad to have you. And glad you just finished the shoot. That means you can take me out to dinner when I get to Texas, I guess. Okay. Amazon plans to object to union victory in New York. It has extra time to gather evidence for its claim that Amazon labor union threatened employees to vote yes. Reader review. Amazon is planning to object to the results of the election where workers at a New York warehouse voted to organize with the Amazon labor union, according to a deadline extension request the company filed with the NLRB. In the document, which you can read full below, Amazon said it's gathering evidence to show that the union threatened employees to coerce them into voting yes, engineered and interfered with employees waiting in line to vote, and threatened immigrants with the loss of benefits if they did not vote. How are you going to? Well, I guess they're going to try to prove that. Amazon hasn't yet filed its final official objections, according to Kayla Blotto, a spokesperson for the NLRB. It will have until 11:59 p.m. ET tonight to do so, though the company has until April 22nd to file the proof it claims. So it has until 1 minute before midnight tonight to get the objection in, and then they have exactly 2 weeks to come up with the proof. Amazon's objection seemed almost inevitable, you think, when news broke that workers had voted to unionize. Yeah, remember they said overwhelming vote? 2,654 to 2,131. I wouldn't call that an overwhelming vote, but it's definitely a win for the union. In a landmark victory against a notoriously anti-union company, Amazon released a statement saying that it was evaluating its options, which included filing objections based on the inappropriate and undue influence by the NLRB. I don't see how you're going to win this by accusing the federal agency who's going to be the one reviewing this. But I could be wrong. While the company's main complaint seemed to be with the union, its extension request does mention that it plans to object to frivolous, unfair labor practice charges against Amazon. Frivolous, okay. The NLRB has sued the company for allegedly firing employees in retaliation for union activity, and I think the guy who's head of it is one of those guys, and issued a complaint saying Amazon was threatening, surveilling, and interrogating workers in the run-up to the election. Now get this, it also wants to stop the company from forcing employees to attend captive audience meetings where it presents anti-union talking points to the workers required to attend. So in other words, you show up for work, they tell you you have to come to this meeting, and then they just hit you with all the anti-union stuff. I don't think that's fair. In response to Amazon's objections, a lawyer working for the ALU told Reuters, to say that the Amazon labor union was threatening employees is really absurd, given that the union is made up of the company's employees. Well, unions do have a history of doing that. Amazon did not immediately respond to the Verge's request for comment on Thursday. Yeah, that's because they only have until tonight to get their objection in. So, just thought that was very interesting. I'm sure we'll probably hear a whole lot more about this story. Okay. So, one more story left. And this one's a little surprising. Share screen. Okay. So this was on Phone Arena. Get this. America's top Android chipset maker, MediaTek, may wiggle into the Galaxy S22 FE and the flagship S23 series. It's by Daniel Petroff, and it's from 2 days ago. Let's go to Review, get rid of some ads. Good picture of Daniel Petroff. Okay. Instead of its own Exynos or the Qualcomm Snapdragon processor Samsung is now using in the Galaxy S22 series or the Galaxy S21 FE, Samsung may switch to MediaTek chipsets for the Galaxy S23 models in Asia, as well as for roughly half of the S22 FE shipments, reports Business Korea. The MediaTek processors, based on ARM architecture, had 26% market share last year, after Qualcomm's 37%, followed by Apple with 26%. Samsung's Exynos line, on the other hand, had just 7% market share. In the US, Android phones with MediaTek processors are currently the majority with 51% market share. Yeah, they ended the year on top, as they can be found in many sub-$400 phones that sell in the many millions, like the Motorola Moto G Pure, the Samsung Galaxy A12, the Samsung, oh yeah, that was Samsung's biggest selling phone last year. The Samsung Galaxy R32 or the T-Mobile Revel V Plus. If Samsung goes up market with them, equipping the Galaxy S22 FE and the S23 with MediaTek as well, that market share is only poised to grow further, As a reminder, MediaTek makes quite capable flagship chipsets. Yeah, but I think that's only in the last couple of years. With the Dimensity 9000 built on a modern 4-nanometer process and having bells and whistles such as 300 megapixel cameras, as well as the AV1 video codec support that Snapdragon is yet to gain. So maybe that's why Samsung is thinking of using them. When it comes to performance, MediaTek's top chips are no slouches, as the Dimensity 9000 is breathing right down Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1's neck, judging from the latest Antutu benchmark score ratings. And yeah, the Dimensity 9000 is the one that's really brought them to the top. Okay, and this is just a short showing some of the phones. So, iPhone 7 Pro, i7 Pro, sorry. Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, EQ9 also, EQ9 Pro also, Redmi K50 Pro, Dimensity 9000. I don't know who this is, but also Snapdragon. Oppo Find X5 Pro, Dimensity 9000. That surprised me. And then you got Snapdragon the rest of the way. But obviously, MediaTek is coming on, and they're already number one in the United States. So, just interesting that Samsung will go with might go with the competitor over some of their own phones. So let me stop screen, and that is my last story for the evening. But of course, we are going to go to glowing rectangles as we do every week. And let me share that screen. Most of you know, but just in case there's anyone here who doesn't know, this is on Reddit. And if you let me get my stuff out of the way here. Oh, no, it's okay. So on reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles. This was started by Juan Bagnell, some gadget guy. And it's specifically to give anybody who wants more exposure to more people, more exposure. If you have a video or somebody you know has a video and you think they need exposure, you can just plug it in here any day. And same thing with if you do a blog, you can put that in here. And let's see, where's the top? Okay. If you click on top, people upvote and downvote on whatever story they want. I don't know anybody who, at least I don't think anybody really downvotes. But for today, I fix it in Google. I'm launching my general pixel parts program, put here by Juan Bagnell, and it's already got 9 upvotes. Second one is always a commercial or an ad. And right behind it, Unihertz teases new BlackBerry 2 Key S communicator coming. Yeah, I saw that story when I was browsing, when I was sitting in the back of the car at work. I didn't get a chance to read it yet. Anyway, that's gotten 8 upvotes. Check this out. The hatred towards the OnePlus 10 Pro and OnePlus in general is not objective. I didn't know anybody had hatred towards it. I came close to thinking about the OnePlus 10 Pro, but thanks to me watching Juan Bagnell and some gadget guy the other night, I've already gone in another direction. More on that to come later. So anyway, if you want to get somebody some exposure, you can put a video or blog here and they'll get it. So once again, it's reddit.com/r/glowing rectangles. So always want to let you folks know about that. And let's see, let me stop screen. Okay. So that's the show for tonight, folks. If it's your first time here, please make sure you give it a thumbs up and Subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll find out whenever I upload a video. Lately, last week or so, 2 weeks, I've been doing stuff a little different than what I've done in the past, and I'm going to try to continue some of that. But of course, I'll still be doing plenty of phone and camera comparisons as I have the time. But, with my exercise schedule and working 3 days a week, the time is usually tight. So anyway, folks, thanks for coming in again tonight. And in case any of the regulars missed it, I did put up top that Renz would not be here tonight. And I thought it was so nice. He reached out to me yesterday on Twitter just to tell me he wouldn't be here from the Philippines. How nice is that? And it's a holiday weekend in the Philippines. And I said, I guess it's party time. But I just thought it was very nice of him to even let me know that ahead of time. And Brian, you're entirely welcome, and thank you, as I always have to thank you. And Ted, glad you got in here. I'm glad you had your photo shoot. And Vince, thank you once again. And as always, folks, I will be back next Friday with Friday Night Tech Talk. Anybody you know that might be interested in these kind of stories, please let them know about it. And I will see you all next week, and I hope everybody has a very blessed weekend. So off we go.